Um, I'll ask, please introduce yourselves in the chat and we'll get started with today's ACRL Leader Orientation. Thanks so much for being here. Someone has to go first and introduce themselves. Here we go. Excellent. Thank you. I'm glad we're here. Again, if you're just joining us, please introduce yourself in the chat. Here we go. Excellent. We're grateful for everybody taking time for this orientation. I'm Beth McNeil. I'm ACRL president this year, and I have the good fortune to be the Dean of Libraries at Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana. This orientation is something we are doing to bring everyone sort of up to speed at everything ACRL leadership. I'll turn to my colleagues Leo Lowe and Aaron Ellis now to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Beth. Hi, I'm Leo Lowe. I'm the new VP President-elect and the Dean of the College of University Libraries and Learning Sciences in the very sunny University of New Mexico. Hello, everyone.
Thank you, Leo.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Ellis, a past president of ACRL, and my other hat is Associate Dean of Organizational Strategy, Diversity, and Inclusion at Indiana University in Bloomington.
Thank you, Leo and Erin. I'm glad you're here with me today. Up next, I think our staff liaisons. Allison?
Thanks, Beth. Hi, I'm Allison Payne. I'm ACRL Interim Executive Director. Unfortunately, Lois Sharp and Lauren Carlton could not be here to join us, but they are important members of the staff team, and their photos are shown here on the slide. Aaliyah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi all, I'm Aaliyah. I'm program coordinator. I'm also first time round, and I will be liaison to discussion and interest groups from now on.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We are so fortunate to have the ACRL staff that we do to work with us to move ACRL forward. And speaking of moving us forward, we have the ACRL Plan for Excellence. It's our strategic plan, the Plan for Excellence, and it's reviewed annually by the ACRL Board of Directors. And it was developed over the years with significant member input and really informed by the latest trend data. The plan sets forth the goals and objectives for our association activities, including the work of ACRL membership groups. The Plan for Excellence influences our webinars, our discussion forums, publications, and really the other resources that meet the needs of the community. The work is done in tandem with committees and communities of practice. And by using this structure, ACRL, our association, can always be responsive to the needs of academic and research librarians. When you have the opportunity, I encourage you, please take some time to review the Plan for Excellence on the ACRL website, and really ask members what we can do for them as you continue your work as leaders. It's easy to find on the website. And we have on the screen, you'll see the 5 goals, which are led by goal area committees. Yeah, next slide, please. So the ACRL Plan for Excellence has an annual reporting mechanism that includes work plans and then also implementation reports, depending on the group that you're working with or leading. Division level committees complete the reports and the work plans with their board and staff liaisons. And I'll stress that the board and staff liaison have important roles to work with you as you complete reports and the work plans. And it's a cycle. So past chairs, so terms that ended on June 30th of 2023, so each year, are responsible for completing the year-end report for the activities from July 1, in this case, 2022, to June 30th of 2023. So please work with your committee members and your board and staff liaisons to complete the report and make sure the new chair has a copy to include in the combined template. for 2023-2024 plans, new chairs who just started their chairship this July 1 should work with their committees and the board and staff liaisons to complete work plans for the current cycle for July 1, 2023 to June 30th of 2024. So the year in which we are currently working. Your board liaison is the one who has the final sign off on your work plan. Board liaisons will consider the annual work plan review criteria when reviewing draft work plans for their approval. And a new chair would then submit the final report and the work plans to their committee's ALA Connect community. A copy should also be sent to Elois, who Allison introduced Elois today, Elois Sharp. And the deadline this year is September 30th for all reports and work plans to be compiled and shared with the ACRL Board of Directors, which is ultimately where they go. Plan for Excellence implementation reports, communities of practice, sections and interest groups. And certainly there will be questions about this. There are different types of groups and what they need to do. So please always feel free to reach out to board liaisons, board members, others to make sure that you know the direction you're heading. But at any rate, sections and interest groups and chapters have a different report to complete. It's a Plan for Excellence implementation report. It was due in July 14th, actually. And if you have not yet submitted a report, it's okay. I have missed those myself in the past, but if you haven't yet, please contact your staff liaison, Lauren Carlton or Aaliyah Price. And we met Aaliyah today. Let me think. Oh, great. Thank you. So who is ACRL leadership class? So it's on our slide here, the board of directors, division level committees, editorial board chairs, vice chairs, section chairs, task force chairs, chapters, council chair, liaisons assembly, representatives assembly, but basically it's you. You are part of ACRL's leadership team. And the leadership class meets at least once a year for what is called ACRL Leadership Council and membership meeting. Typically, and maybe there's nothing typical about the last couple of years, but typically this happens either at the ALA annual conference or as a virtual meeting. An invitation comes through ALA Connect once that meeting has been scheduled. And we on behalf of the presidents, we really want you to be engaged in a productive, healthy, and enjoyable way. And we need you to be, all of you to be the kind of leaders who makes all the member volunteers, which is how we think of those we're working with, you'll work with feel the same, engaged, healthy participation in the organization and finding it enjoyable. And we will make a great team. And we know each of you will contribute to ACRL's success. And I should conclude that with a thank you for stepping up to be a leader in ACRL. Let me think. Yeah, Directory of Leadership. Let me get caught up for a sec. Okay, ACRL Director of Leadership. So what you're seeing on your screen is actually a screenshot from ACRL's presence on the ALA website. This leadership directory includes rosters for all of our membership groups. And when you click on the group's name, you're going to see the members. And once you log in with your ALA credentials, you can see the roster and better connect with those groups. The ACRL Directory of Leadership can be very, very helpful as you're moving forward with the work of your groups. Okay, let's move on to board activities. Is this me? No, I'm going to turn to my colleague, Erin, to take over.
You're off the hook for a little bit, Beth. All right. Welcome, everyone. And we're so glad that you're here. And I just want to echo Beth's note about thank you. Thank you for being a part of ACRL. And thank you for the leadership that you're contributing to this organization. It's wonderful to see so many here. So I'll talk just a little bit about how to keep up to date and engaged with board activities. There's several ways to do that at multiple times throughout the year. I'll start with meetings. The board typically meets officially 4 times a year. We have fall and spring meetings, and then we also meet around the LLX time and also during annual conference. This year, after some conversation with the board, we decided that we just don't have enough meetings. So we're going to meet some more. we decided that it would be really beneficial for us to have some meetings that are more like board update meetings is what they're called, so that we can connect a little bit more frequently, make sure that we're all on the same page, responding to anything that has come up, between the 4 official conversations that we have. So we have inserted a handful more of those board update meetings along our year here. Except for when the board is in executive session, you are welcome to join. All meetings are open to anyone, any individual. So our spring and fall meetings are typically held virtually, so you would be on the lookout for a meeting via Zoom, very likely. And in recent years, we've had something of a mix with our meetings during LLX and the annual meeting. A little bit of virtual, a little bit of in person, and like Beth said, nothing's really typical anymore. So just keep your eyes out for the times and dates and all that good stuff. And again, if it's not an executive session item, anyone is welcome to attend. If you haven't yet, and I really hope you have, joined Connect and updated your profile, please do that as soon as you can. Another way to keep track and up to date with the board activities and actions is to join the ACRL board's public ALA Connect community. And that's where agendas are posted, notes, all kinds of information is shared there, and you are welcome to join that. We also, twice a year in our College and Research Libraries news publication, publish 2 action articles, which kind of does a little capture, a little snapshot of the board activities and actions up to that point during the year. Our president's pages, I have to admit, I'm not great about keeping these up to date, but they are also a venue where you could find some information about what's going on, particularly with one of the 3 presidents. We all endeavor to do a better job with that, and I'm probably the worst offender on that one. Also, keep your eyes open for posts to ACRL Insider. This is a great place for all kinds of information, but frequently the board will also put information in there either about board activities and actions, or sometimes things we're thinking about, things we're grappling with, things that are on our mind or on the mind of our members, and we have a response or we have something to say about that. So ACRL Insider is a great place to also find good information and get a snapshot of what's going on with the board. Next slide, please. So a couple of notes about external communication. Only the board of directors can speak for ACRL. You are absolutely free, of course, to communicate as an individual, but with your ACRL hat on, your ACRL, committee chair title on, that is not permissible. And you will frequently, as a leader in the organization, be asked to comment on things, to sign a letter of support or draft a letter of support and send it, issue a statement, all sorts of things. But please remember that if you are approached with that kind of request, that it really needs to be passed along to your board liaison and your staff liaison, because only the board can make those kinds of comments on behalf of ACRL. This applies to taking positions with other organizations, writing letters in support of other organizations. Again, if you are brought a question or request along those lines, please make sure that you connect with your board and your staff liaisons. We do try very hard to respond as quickly as we can when we do get those solicitations, when we get those requests. So as soon as something arises for you, please don't hesitate and get that sent to your liaisons. Sometimes we can respond faster than other times. Sometimes we have to engage with our ALA colleagues to consider how a response, or if a response needs to come from us or big ALA instead. So sometimes there's a small little bit of communication that has to happen behind the scenes before we can take any action. But the sooner we know that a request has arisen with you, the sooner we can get going to respond. And on a related note, if you ever have a reporter, a journalist, someone who wants to interview you, someone who wants you for a quote regarding any issue related to ACRL, please contact Allison as soon as possible, and she will help to coordinate interviews, requests for quotes and things like that. She'll work with whoever she needs to with the ACRL presidents, most likely, to make sure that the journalist or reporter or whoever has what they need. Okay, next slide. So it's, as I said, and as Beth said, it's always a good idea to keep up with what the board's doing, what we're talking about, and what's coming up for us in our agendas. To officially communicate with the board, you, or on behalf of your group, there are 2 templates that you can use. One is a board action form and one is a board discussion form. And they are templates that can be downloaded on our forms page. So when there's something we're about to discuss on the board, or there's something you would like to discuss with the board, these are the 2 forms that you'll want to take a look at to initiate that communication. So when and why would you do that? Well, never hesitate to reach out to your board and staff liaisons to ask, should I use this form? Is there another way to start a conversation about this question I have? They will be able to best guide you on how to initiate the conversation with the board or initiate the action. This may happen if you are working on a group that deals with standards, frameworks, guidelines. Those are all things that the board approves. And so would need a communication initiated from you. If you want to create a new group or you want to make a change to an existing group, that might also be a reason to fill out a form, because the board does approve those as well. Sections can create their own committees without board approval, so I want to make sure that that's clear. But if a section is thinking about changing a charge, that would be a situation where the board would need to be notified and a communication would need to be initiated. And the board also approves the ACRL Budget and Finance Committee's recommendations for ACRL budget and choices budget. So if your group has requests that might have financial implications, again, this might be a reason to reach out to both of your liaisons so that some communication could be initiated with the board. You all have staff liaisons, you all have board liaisons. In addition, every section and division level, so you have a team. Every section, every committee has a team. If you're ever not sure about whether or when to communicate with the board, again, don't hesitate to reach out to these liaisons. They're there to support you and get your questions answered. You will see deadlines coming to you for reports on what's, I don't know, particular action, reports on other kinds of things. If those pertain to you, then a deadline will be announced via Connect. So again, a plug to make sure that your Connect is up to date and that you have your settings set how you would like them in terms of how often you want to get the things that are being posted to Connect. If you want them right as they come, you want to digest, that sort of thing. But those sorts of deadlines and those requests for reports will come via Connect to ACRL leaders. If you have something that does go on a forum that you want considered for an upcoming board meeting, please be sure that you're noting those deadlines. But we also work virtually throughout the year. We get information and communication all the time throughout the year. So you don't necessarily have to wait for a meeting or wait for a conference to come around to submit a board action or a board discussion form. So again, just keep your liaison team in mind if you ever think that there's a reason to communicate with the board and get on their agenda for something. And I think that's all for me. I think Allison's next.
Thanks, Erin. So I'll talk a little bit about ACRL and ALA's legal entity. So ALA is one legal entity of which ACRL is a part of. In the eyes of the IRS, ALA is a 501c3 nonprofit, which that means we are a charitable, educational, nonprofit organization for the public benefit and not a professional association. So what does that mean for your role in ACRL? This puts limits on the amount of lobbying and political activity. No political speech, no discussions supporting or opposing candidates, no organizing boycotts, no defamatory remarks about others. These are not free speech issues, I do want to note. These are tax issues, and we don't want to be the ones that cost ALA its tax exempt status. So if you're ever in doubt, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about any of that. Like all nonprofits, ALA can only engage in a very limited amount of lobbying. However, ALA does advocate for library issues like funding throughout the year, and you can expect to hear from the ALA Public Policy and Advocacy Office and ACRL as we encourage you to contact your federal and state representatives regarding these various issues that affect academic libraries. So now let's look a little at the financial relationship between ALA and ACRL. ACRL is a self-sustaining operation, which means that ACRL receives no direct financial support from ALA. ACRL revenues from dues, registrations, sales of publications, ads, etc. cover all of ACRL expenses, which also includes staff. Divisions pay ALA overhead through an indirect cost rate of 26.5% on non-dues revenue. There also are other exceptions such as donations, which do not pay overhead. For example, so this means every dollar of your ACRL conference registration, 26.5 cents goes directly to support the ALA mission and services. So those services include items such as IT, legal, HR, finance, the ALA library, research, intellectual freedom, and the Washington office. So you may have heard that the ALA operating working group is currently reviewing and making recommendations. That work is well underway currently, and so I will discuss a little bit on the next slide about that. So the ALA operating agreement is the policy document that explains and defines the nature of the relationship among the various ALA units. In June 2022, the ALA Executive Board approved the ALA Operating Work Group, which had the following recommendations. They approved their final report, was a rewritten policy, an outline for changing the internal processes for the ALA Committee on Organization to review for their review, and to seek continued association-wide feedback, and then to forward to the Executive Board and Council for final review and vote. If that new policy is approved, they authorize the implementation task force to develop a new budget process, which that piece is currently underway. Myself, I represent ACRL, as well as Carolyn Henderson Allen, who is a former Budget and Finance Committee chair for ACRL. Within that implementation task force, there's representatives from the divisions, various ALA units, and that representation includes both staff and member leaders. This is a really important task force that's looking at the financial piece. We're currently in discussion about what the overhead rate, so that 26.5% that I discussed in the previous slide, that will most likely be changing, and how it's assessed will be changing in the future. So the board, the ACRL board, the ACRL Budget and Finance Committee is staying very closely engaged in that work. So I do encourage you to stay apprised of that work through the ALA Connect community of the ACRL board. And then there also will be an operational practices group that will be looking at more of the internal work of and implications of the ALA operating agreement. So the big thing that the financial group is looking at is the overhead models, which I mentioned previously. And I do encourage you to stay apprised of this important work as it unfolds. The current timeline includes for the financial piece to be completed by December of this calendar year. We are looking to request an extension as there are a lot of pieces and the charge is very lofty, so we hope we will have more information to share on that in the future. Okay, so online survey software such as SurveyMonkey makes it easy to do surveys yourself, but we do ask that you please do not survey without first checking with your ACRL board and staff liaisons. So a reminder, if you do a survey under the auspices of ACRL, you do not need to go through IRB review. The reason why you need to check in with ACRL is to avoid survey fatigue, avoid duplication of surveys, ensure the highest quality of the survey, and then once your survey is approved, you can work with your staff and board liaisons for the best in your committee to find the best way to field that survey. ACRL ALA has a right of first refusal on the work you do within your membership group. ACRL is a publisher and an online learning provider. We know you have creative ideas, and ACRL would like to first consider how to publish your unit's work or offer a webinar on the topic. When you volunteer for ACRL, you are serving on behalf of the profession, so please contact with ACRL, or please check with ACRL content strategist Erin Nevius if you have a topic you'd like to propose. And then just as a reminder, all working papers and final products of your group is the sole property of ACRL and are not to be used for any personal projects unless there's written permission has been attained from the appropriate governing body. So I'll go ahead and transition over to Leo.
All right, thank you, Allison. So as the president-elect, I am the appointing authority for all division level committee appointments for the next cycle, which is July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. And the call for volunteers will launch on December 1st, 2023 and close on February 28th, 2024. So this call will also include information for editorial board appointments, which are handled by the ACRL Publications Coordinating Committee. So committee chairs will be contacted by the ACRL Appointments Committee later this year or early 2024 for recommendations for reappointments. So, think about, your recommendations between now and then. But please note that committees do not make their own appointments. You have to work with the ACRL Appointments Committee. And volunteers must submit the volunteer form to demonstrate their commitment and to ensure that they are considered. To complete the volunteer form, volunteers must be current ALA and ACRL members because all appointees must be ACRL members throughout the duration of their committee appointment. So if your term is ending and you are interested and eligible for reappointment, I really encourage you to volunteer in December. And when the form launches on December 1st, please feel free to share and encourage your colleagues to volunteer. And I'll pass it on to, I think, Aaliyah.
So this will be about ACRL section appointments. These section appointments have a bit of a different process than division level appointments, being that the form will launch at the same time on December 1st, 2023, and will close February 28th, 2024. Section vice chairs do make appointments and will have access to the volunteer system in late February 2024. But staff will be in touch closer to the launch date with more detailed information and instructions. Interest groups and discussion groups do have a different appointment process, and this will be discussed later in the orientation. So as you can see, the timeline being the 1st to the 28th, which is the same as division level appointments. March and April appointment offers sent, and then July is when the new appointment offer terms begin. And this is ALA Connect, which is where you can access your community's ALA community, which is directly tied to the community roster. the committee roster. So when your term officially begins on July 1st, you are automatically have access to the committee's ALA admin page, ALA Connect space, and then a link to each committee's ALA Connect space can be found in the resources section on the roster page.
Thanks, Aaliyah. ACRL offers LibGuides as a free service for our membership units with thanks to the generous support of SpringShare. LibGuides, as you know, is a platform for easily creating and sharing guides about different topics, such as subject areas and member group information. However, you should note that LibGuides should not replace ALA Connect or the online roster pages, but it can really be a great tool for publishing toolkits, FAQs, and bibliographies. If you don't currently have access, please reach out to your ACRL staff liaison and we can get you set up. Okay, so LibLearnX is an educational experience that's designed to motivate, inspire, and engage in discussions that will help shape the future of libraries and their communities. The submission site for the proposals closed on August 7th, but don't worry, this is not where your business meetings are held. However, if you would like to attend LibLearnX, registration and housing will open next month on that website. So the next opportunity for your groups to meet in person, while not required, is at the annual conference. Please take note that annual conference 2024 will be held later. It's usually held towards the end of June, but this coming year, it will be held at the beginning of July. If you are interested in meeting face-to-face, ACRL staff will be sending those details via ALA Connect this fall. I'll go ahead and hand it back over to Aaliyah.
Okay, so for virtual meetings, we do encourage ACRL groups to hold virtual meetings throughout the year, and they must meet at least once per year. You are welcome to use your own Zoom account or other meeting platform for committee and business meetings, but you may also request use of ACRL's virtual meeting software if needed. To comply with the ALA open meeting policy, please make sure to post your agenda 2 weeks prior to the meeting on ALA Connect. We also encourage you to post the meeting minutes within 2 weeks after your meeting.
Sorry about that. I think I'm next. So really it's about what is next. So we heard a little bit about ALA Connect. Make sure your profile is up to date, and it is nice if you'll add a photo, a picture of yourself. We want you to reach out and introduce yourself to the committee through the ALA Connect space and welcome new members. It's an opportunity to talk to the previous chair, to familiarize yourself with the work of that group. And also for division level committees, we're back to the work plan and the report and start thinking about what you and your committee will focus on in the coming year. And then schedule meetings for later this year. I think I wanted to, let me just stress before we go on. You don't have to move back. It's okay. Your ALA Connect profile, make it up to date. That's important. It's easy to do. So thank you. Let's see. I think next, Allison, we're at questions.
Yeah, so here we have the contact information for the staff liaisons. I do want to note, so there's a few slides. We're kind of doing a pilot project where we're having all the communities of practice and the division level committees do one orientation. So after this question time, there will be a few slides that pertain just to the communities of practice. So I do see there are quite a few comments in the question or in the chat. So Beth and Aaron and Leah, I think we might want to look at those before moving on.
All right. I'm seeing lots of introductions.
Yeah, maybe it's just introductions. I guess now we can open up the floor. If there are questions, I welcome you to unmute or put questions in the chat.
Walter has a question. Go ahead, Walter.
Hi, I just had a sorry, I had a back to the last slide. I wasn't sure about the contact info. So generally when I'm in the ACRL section membership committee, and I usually email Lauren individually, and I'm not sure if I should. Basically, there are multiple staff members in our that are in our ALA Connect group, and I'm not sure who's the best one to contact. I've contacted Lauren in the past for things in like the section that I'm in, and so I just end up contacting her all the time, but I don't want to burden her if there's supposed to be another person I'm contacting, or if I should contact a team. So I was just wondering about little things like the if I have a question about a document I'm supposed to submit, for example, should I, email multiple people? Just a few questions about that. I guess, yeah. Who should be the main contact or all that?
I can answer that. I think you can keep messaging Lauren. She's more than happy to help. And if she's not the person, she can forward that on and connect you with the right person. Good question.
Okay, Allison, we have a question about getting a copy of the slides for future reference.
Sure, absolutely. We can share those after the meeting with the recording.
Good. Karen Diaz has a question.
Hi, can I just verify, did you say that we need to be posting all of our agendas and our minutes to ALA Connect? And if so, is that like just to our committee, or can you clarify where in ALA Connect that is?
Allison, I'm going to turn to you on that.
Sure, yeah, that's a really good question. So each committee has its own ALA Connect community, and that's linked from the roster page. So you should just be posting it to your own committee or groups page or ALA Connect community.
Really good questions. Karen, do you have another question? No. Okay.
Well, Beth, we could continue to monitor the chat and maybe move on to the communities of practice section. The division level committee leaders, you're of course welcome to stay, but this part will just mainly pertain to the communities of practice.
Allison, I'll keep an eye on chat.
Okay, sounds good. Sorry I had to move around my multiple screens. Okay, so I'll go ahead and start this section. So like I said, unfortunately, Lauren was unable to join us, so I'll be going over her slides for her. Your ACRL, and please do feel free to reach out to Lauren if you have any questions after the presentation regarding your section. So your section membership committee chairs are de facto members of the ACRL section membership committee. Each month, ACRL staff uploads your most recent membership statistics and list of new, reinstated, renewing, and drop members to the ACRL section membership committee's ALA Connect space. Section representatives are encouraged to share these reports with their executive committees. Section membership committee members are encouraged to contact the new, reinstated, renewing, and drop members for their section. Note, we are a little behind in gathering these reports from ALA, so the most recent ones will be uploaded as they become available. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about section funding and reimbursements. Sections receive funding allocation notifications typically in early October, which are based on section membership numbers at the end of the previous fiscal year. We may not be able to issue budget memos until November or December if ALA does not issue the August membership reports then. So there's a chance that those reports could be a little bit delayed. Please note that any unused funds are not carried over to the next fiscal year, which our fiscal year just began on September 1st of this year. Section chairs approve requests for funding that are submitted by committee members before sending them along to ACRL. This shows the fiscal year 24 basic service budget ranges based on the section memberships as of August 31st First, each section receives $1,000 as a base and then additional 75 cents for each member over 400. Sections have used their basic services funds to sponsor emerging leaders, to support liaison activities, to support member engagement initiatives such as social events, and to carry out the work of these section committees. Again, sections receive funding allocations typically in early October, so Lauren will be sending more details later this year. And pass it over to Aaliyah.
So for discussion and interest group information, which I'm now the liaison to specifically, discussion groups appointments are for 1-year terms, and they require at least one convener each year to maintain active status. Discussion group leaders can serve up to 5 consecutive terms. And for both IG and DG appointments are handled through the appointment system rather, or not handled, sorry. And both IG and DG leadership is responsible for choosing the next incoming leadership each spring. Discussion groups, as stated, need just one position and they can serve up to 5 consecutive terms. There are no membership rosters for discussion groups, but anyone is welcome to join the Connect space for each discussion group in order to participate in the listserv functionality and receive meeting updates. For interest groups, leadership positions are 3-year commitments, which is incoming convener, and past convener. And they must submit a board action every 3 years requesting approval to continue or sunset the group. For interest group funding, which we just heard a little bit about, section funding, but for interest group funding, discussion groups do not receive budgets, but interest groups get $150 each year. All unused funds are not carried over to the next fiscal year. All reimbursement requests are due by August 15th before the end of ALA's fiscal year. Interest group leaders approve requests for funding that are submitted by interest group members before sending them along to ACRL. And full details on the CoPA unit funding can be found at that link there, which we'll send out this slideshow so you can access it. And because this link is probably will be your #1 resource for all funding questions, and the page also includes information on many of the details we just covered, including the structure of the groups, continuance requirements, and much more. Thanks.
All right. Next, we're at communities of practice and any questions that we might have. I don't see new ones in chat, but please put your hand up or call out. Laura.
Yes, hi. Thank you all so much for the information. It's really helpful. I'm Laura Garpy. I'm the current chair of the University Library section. So I took note, Allison, of your point that discussion groups should not necessarily have a membership roster and that their convener appointments are for 1 year only. We seem to not be doing any of that in ULS, and that we have some discussion groups with a membership roster, and also it appears to be on 2-year cycles. So I just wanted to clarify, I guess, how we did this wrong and how urgent it is that we correct it.
So I will say that our structure might be overly complex and that you are doing it correctly. So we have division level discussion groups, and then there's also discussion groups within sections. So your structure within your section is correct.
Thank you for clarifying.
Mm-hmm.
Very good question. And sometimes things are a complicated structure in our robust organization. Additional questions?
I just want to say thank you for everyone for making time to attend this orientation and for your participation.
I'll agree and second that. And I think my presidential colleagues, Aaron and Leo, would also agree. It can be a wonderful, engaging, robust service opportunity in ACRL, but we do a lot of work, and we're grateful for your leadership throughout the organization. I guess I'll say going once, going twice. Any more questions? All right, well, our ACRL staff are always ready to answer any follow-up questions that come to you later. So Allison, shall we conclude? All right, thanks everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Have great days. Bye-bye.
Thank you.